Hey, welcome to the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute with your host, the alchemist of Indiana's Black Forest, Alan Bishop. Hey, this channel is all about home distilling and legal distilling. If you've got questions, reach out to us in the comments below, social media, or via bishopshomegrown@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out thealchemistcabinet.com. Hey guys, hope you're all doing well out there, and keep an eye on the weather if you're in the south. So here in the Midwest, here in southern Indiana, we had tornado warnings come through, and we had a lot of hail, good sized hail too. Luckily, everybody's okay. Nothing damage that can't be fixed for sure. So, and nothing major at that here anyways. I hope everybody else that watches this channel is also all right. But anyways, quick update before we get into what we're getting into here this evening. Almanacs. So we had two orders that we put into the printer. Printer shipped those out weeks ago, and the USPS lost both those orders, which is awesome. So the almanacs have been reprinted this past week. They should be on their way to us this next week, and then they'll end up in your hands. But the website has been updated to reflect that. So now if you go there and you go to buy a 2025 Practical Distiller's Almanac, you'll only be able to get the digital copy. We will add the physical copies back once we have them in hand. So for those of you that did order the digital, or that ordered the physical before, that came with the free digital copy, you'll still get the physical. Obviously, we just have to get them here first. So it's just a matter of time, just a patience game. I will be set up in the future to where this is hopefully not an issue from now on. We will not be putting up books until we have them on hand, in our hands, so that way you guys aren't waiting around forever to get a copy of that book after you've already put in your order, because I don't like that. I don't like it when it happens to me, and it's not fair for it to happen to anybody else. So we're going to make sure that that doesn't happen anymore. From now on, there will be books on hand here to send out to you as soon as we get your order, and that's just the way it's going to be. And I'll get the new almanac for 2026 into the printer by the end of July, beginning of August, so that way I'll hopefully have those on hand by October or so, when they can go out on a normal time frame like a normal almanac. Bear in mind that this publishing thing we're still pretty new at. We're still learning. The almanac thing, we're still new at, we're still learning. There's going to be a learning curve. It's just the nature of it. There's a reason the Farmer's Almanac and the Old Farmer's Almanac are actually completed 18 months ahead of time, and I know that now, and so now that's going to become the goal going into the future. So plenty of work to do on all that stuff. But this evening, I want to do a couple quick tastings with you guys. So Paul Menta, good friend of mine, and Eric Wolfe, brother, both of them are brothers really, but Key West Legal Rum Distilling and Stoll and Wolfe Distillery respectively, obviously. Work with both of them out at Mount Vernon, work with both of them out at Stoll and Wolfe, and I've worked with Eric on the Wolfe and Wilson Rye Whiskey project. I'm actually getting ready to work on that again here very shortly in the near future. But Paul came up with a really cool idea called American Small Batch Distilling. And that's kind of, his baby, his outline. I'm sure he'll have definitions for all those things, exactly what is small batch, how does small batch work, etc. But I'm pretty sure if you consider yourself kind of a craft distiller, you're probably going to qualify for this thing, including if you're running columns. Stoll and Wolfe, for example, runs a very interesting column that's not set up at all like a Kentucky low rep column, and makes some really, really, really beautiful stuff. The really cool thing about both of these bottles is I've tasted both of them before, obviously. You can see there's some gone out of both of them. Both Paul and Eric have this really graceful, beautiful distillation style. In fact, it's the style that I prefer to drink as opposed to even my own stuff. It's funny in how that my style differs from what they do, and their styles differ from each other as well, but mine differs in that I tend to focus on certain intensities of certain things as opposed to almost really a more pleasant sort of experience. Not to say that my stuff isn't pleasant, because I do believe it is. It's in a different way. My stuff really focuses on almost extremes in a lot of ways, versus this more graceful style of distillation, which again, it's something that I gravitate towards with drinking. But since we talked about salt cured barrels here lately, and I do have an email, it's not a question, but it's actually a commentary from the same gentleman who emailed us before about salt cured barrels that both myself and Paul sort of responded to. It's a really great email, and I will get that on the channel here shortly. But so this is the Simonton rum. So this is actually the reserve that they do down at Key West Legal Rum Distilling. So this is actually from the salt cured barrels, and it's fantastic is what I'll tell you. And I'm not a rum person. I know that's pretty common for people to say, is I'm not a rum person, but This in particular, I really enjoy. You might have actually seen Jeff Muller from the Scotchy Bourbon Boys down interviewing Paul and checking out the distillery here recently. And Paul's doing some really cool stuff. So long and short of it is, these barrels are actually cured with sea salt using the water there in Key West, right down the street from where Paul's operation is at. But so the Simonton, I'll read you a little bit about what we got going on here. And as you can see, this particular reserve batch is numbered and signed. Paul is one of the most talented individuals I know in the world. Multifaceted. He is a chef distiller. So distilled and bottled by Chef Distilled, Key West, Florida. This is, let's see, Simonton, Jack Saloon. I know better than that. Jack Saloon. The corner bar on Simonton and Front Street was owned by Jack Williams, dates back to 1900. The infamous Jack was a seasoned barman and elected to watering down the rum for the patrons. His high-proof rum was kept in the back for himself and his fellow barman. It's a good man right there. Enjoy the rum that only the barman could. So let's get into this, and I've already poured a little glass here because I tried to film this video a while ago and didn't make it this far. But as you can see, the color there, really nice dark coloration. I mean, really leaning like that dark persimmon wood sort of color. Nice legs on the glass as well, especially for something made from sugar. So I believe, and I hope I don't get this wrong, I believe Paul uses turbinado sugar. I believe. I may be wrong on that, and he can correct me if so. So on the nose, for those of you whiskey folks out there, especially rye whiskey and high rye bourbon folks, there will be a familiarity with this on the nose. In fact, if you were blinded, short of that sort of high sugar note that you can get off of some rums, you might actually think that this was a rye whiskey or a high rye bourbon. Really nice round, little that stone fruit like apricot sort of characteristic, maybe a little cherry. Beautiful coating on the mouth, very silky, very round, almost like a fattiness, or like a fat wash cocktail sort of thing, or like a pechuga sort of thing. A little bit of spice that comes off as almost like cinnamon roll cinnamon, but definitely a lot of coffee, a lot of toffee, a lot of like Heath bar sort of characteristics, or those chocolates with the toffee or caramel that also had the sea salt on top. The sea salt is there. It's almost textural in a way, but it doesn't come off as salty per se. It's definitely more of a perception sort of characteristic, without a doubt. Sweet, but balanced by some of that cinnamon sort of spice, maybe even a little hint of nutmeg in there. It is interesting how the, what I presume to be the sea salt has, when you drink absinthe, for example, the anethol, you can get some numbness on the tip of your tongue. With this, I get a little of that on the sides of my tongue, and definitely a little. Paul had mentioned the magnesium when you're drinking this sort of stuff, getting a little tickle here, and it's definitely there, just a little bit. Gorgeous round spirit though. There ain't nothing to dislike about this. There's no faults in there. Nice, clean, sweet, a little punchy in the best possible way. A lot of the same attributes and reasons why I love the Stoll and Wolfe stuff so much. It's a bottle right there get you in trouble. Guarantee it. Guarantee it. Set that aside and come back to it in a little bit. Man, it's interesting taking a drink of water after that too. A little more of that salt characteristic came back to the forefront when I had that drink of water, without a doubt. But again, it's textural. It's not like you just poured some salt in a drink. It's definitely doing something with the esterification process and the interaction with the barrels. Paul says that it opens up the pores on the barrel. And it's really hard to put my finger on exactly what it's doing, but certainly it is having an effect that is much more than just if you were to add salt to a drink. without a doubt. Let's see, Scotch Bourbon Boy glass, Crystal Glencairn. Love these things, love them. So what we got here is Stoll and Wolfe Distillery single barrel rye whiskey. I believe this is the new single barrel, 106 proof. I think this just hit the tasting room. So if you want one, get yourself down to Lidditz, Pennsylvania, which you should be doing anyways. Get you a bottle of this out of the tasting room. I have yet to ever have anything from Stoll and Wolfe that I did not absolutely love. And the other beautiful thing that I love about Stoll and Wolfe is Eric is of the same mentality that I've always been, of not over maturing barrels, of making sure that you're able to taste the grain that's in those barrels and that the grain is holding up to it. And so he will pull things at a slightly younger age a lot of times, sometimes 2 years, sometimes 3, sometimes 4, etc. But for the style of distillation he's doing on the type of column still that he has, with the copper thumper and the plates in it that he has, it's really just a little pot still. It works beautifully. You can see the color's not terribly dark. It doesn't have to be, right? That is still going to be a fine whiskey, just like the stuff I was making at Spirits of French Lick was at that age. The other beautiful thing I love about what Eric does is, even though he respects the grain as well, when you go to the nose, it's not necessarily doughy like a young whiskey would be. The esterification process is doing some really cool things in the barrel, and you're getting a little bit of that sort of, there's still just a little bit of that banana ester that you get on the nose in particular, and sort of a custard sort of characteristic as well. If there is any of that doughiness there, it's really buried. It almost comes off more as a fresh baked rye bread, or like a pumpernickel sort of thing. Again, no faults whatsoever, just enough rye characteristic to sort of remind you that you're drinking something, just like we got in that rum. I like that. I like to be reminded I'm drinking something so I don't go too far, right? Really pretty graceful entry. Coats the tongue. And it's so interesting with Eric's stuff, with the oils on it in particular. Once you swallow and your saliva interacts with the alcohol that's left on your palate, with the rye that's left on your palate, you can sort of almost feel the oils from that rye move across your tongue and then recoat it again. Does not drink at all like a rye from Kentucky or an MGP rye. Very much so its own sort of beast. Darker cherry notes on it again. Not going like cough syrup or medicinal or anything of that nature. Maybe even some red currant. Maybe even just a hint of black currant hiding out in this bad boy too. Yeah, definitely that red currant, black currant thing on the back of the palate when you swallow. Just a gorgeously made American small batch spirit here. So now we've done both those for funsies, because it's all about bringing people together, right? I know, sacrilegious, but let's take a little bit of Eric's whiskey, a little bit of Paul's rum, and let's just play. I don't know why we wouldn't. People get too dogmatic about the way they drink sometimes. Not that this will necessarily be good, but it could be. Ooh, that salt thing pushes forward, but it also pushes the rye forward, like the fresh baked rye bread, the pumpernickel sort of thing. If anything, it almost makes it like I don't know, like a bagel sort of nose and aroma. Definitely reminds me of a bakery for sure, and reminds me of breakfast. That might be my fat kid tasting note here. It's so crazy. That brings that sea salt so much more forward on the palate and really pushes the spice notes on both those spirits. But not at the front. It's all at the back and all on the finish. Every last bit of it is. It still coats the tongue. The aftertaste is primarily of the rum. But the exhale, 100% rye. 100%. Really, really nice, guys. Really nice. I'm going to finish this glass is what I'm going to do. So be on the lookout, guys. Be sitting down with my wife, Kim, here shortly. And we are going to go through some of those historic whiskeys. The other batch that we were sent by our good buddy. And we're going to do reviews of that as well. If you're at all into the paranormal, 14, or high strangeness. If you have ghosts, you have everything is coming back to Spotify shortly. We are in the process of recording episodes. I think we have 3 in the can right now. I'd like to have about, I don't know, at least 5 to 10 in the can before I start releasing them, just so I can go, several weeks consecutively. And it does take me a little while to record them, especially narrative stuff, and even the interviews, going back through and having to edit those does take me a little while. So be patient. It's coming. All right, y'all. Love you. Later.